Welcome, everyone, to the second episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I'm sitting here with my co-host, Danny Prado, and the newcomer to the show, Trevor Leitz. We're going to be doing a deep dive today into social media and how it affects us in our everyday lives. So I'm excited about this one, and I hope you guys are too. So let's get it started. All right, guys, social media. It's everywhere. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's like you said, it's everywhere. As much as we claim not to say that it controls our lives, I would say it does partially control our lives at this point.
Absolutely. And I always got to make sure that all my friends are in my top 8. Am I a few years behind? I think I'm a few years behind, right?
You're talking MySpace, huh?
Yes. That's where it started.
Not only is that where it started, that's where a lot of friendships ended.
It's very true. Why am I number 4? I was number 3 yesterday, and you moved Trevor up there now? Oh, man. I'm going to hate him forever.
I mean, that is where it necessarily started, right? I mean, I think that was the first big social media that I could recall, other than it being like, we were talking earlier, like AOL or AIM. That was more of just like a friends list, like a contact list that you would have on your phone. Social media really branched it out with MySpace by being able to grab a group of friends and show, oh, this is who I'm friends with, and I want everybody to know about it.
Yeah, I'd say AIM was like the original text before it got into the cell phones. So I wouldn't really consider that a social media aspect. So MySpace definitely was the first. And to go on the point at the top 8, how many girlfriends did you go through into your number 1 spot, then out of your top 8 throughout your history of MySpace?
I don't know, Danny. How many girlfriends?
Well, I homeschooled, so yeah, no, there weren't a lot of fluxes in my top 8. It was a big decision for me when I moved people up and down. I might not see them for 3 months. I better move them down 1 or 2 pegs.
I think it's crazy how it affected so many people. I mean, just from growing up, specifically the top 8, I think it was just went from you had this group of friends and it didn't matter where you had them. And then it got to the point where I think even MySpace was noticing people were freaking out about it. And they got it to where you can make it invisible so people couldn't see your top 8 because it was causing so many issues. And I think that's just a personality and emotional thing. It has nothing to do with social media itself. I think it's just people, being scared of who likes me and who doesn't like me. And I think that's what social media just kind of created, was emotions that people didn't know they had.
I mean, if you think about it, if, like, let's say the 3 of us are here, let's say I consider Danny my closest, bestest friend, but Danny put Noel in front of me on his top 8.
I was about to call you a piece of shit.
I would lose it, like, because naturally we all want to be like the same with each other. Like, oh, if I consider Danny my best friend, I would hope that he considers me his best friend. And if I didn't get that same repercussion or feelings, then that would, personally hurt me. And I think that's where the top 8 kind of delve into craziness.
It's that need for validation from everyone. You absolutely have to have that. That's why you right away, oh, let me turn my notifications on my Instagram. Oh, look at, they're flooding in right now. I've got 37 likes on this picture of my morning coffee. Oh, that person said, oh, I've always wanted that person's approval. Oh, they really liked my picture. I'm going to be happy for the next 6 seconds. Why hasn't that person liked my picture? Why?
Which is transition goes from MySpace to Facebook with the likes and the thumbs up. And then now with the Instagram, same thing. It's all about getting those likes and seeing who has the most. And they have the favorites page that shows who has the most likes and this and that. It's basically a broader version of the top 8 and who's the coolest of them all. It's pretty crazy how it all kind of transitioned that way. I think the only one that kind of that was small and kind of had to adapt was probably Facebook. Because I think I remember when Facebook came out, it was kind of like the younger generation wasn't into it. I think I remember my parents and stuff getting into it more than anybody. And then they adapted. I'm not sure what they did to kind of get people back into it, but I think they just took little pieces of everything and kind of made it into one big social media craze.
I think the big thing with Facebook was they recognized the market that they were going towards, and they turned their way of creating social media. They in essence really created social media. They took something that everyone was looking at. I think when Facebook first came out, if I'm not mistaken, I might be pulling this from that movie, but they were marketed towards, colleges and people forming little groups and clubs. And I think that's why the older generation was more into Facebook than they were MySpace, because MySpace, remember, we used code and it was flashy and you had backgrounds and all kinds of different little things you could do to it. But I think Facebook was simpler. And I remember that was the first thing I remembered, was that it was, oh, this is so simple. It looks so clean, and it's kind of a more modern take on it. And I think that attracted some people.
Yeah, I think that's why more people kind of gravitated towards Facebook, just because the simplicity of using it. I mean, you didn't have to worry about, like you said, code to make your MySpace page awesome, or a cool picture that you liked, or sharing videos. I mean, it came out at a time when internet was still growing. So Facebook came out when internet started really booming. And it was much more accessible with iPhones. I remember Facebook and iPhone was this hand in hand. So Facebook, simplicity, internet's booming, you share things so much easier. So Facebook was just perfect timing as far as when it came out.
You think people at the beginning didn't put much thought into what they were putting on the internet back then because it was so booming? And now you literally have to be careful about everything you put on the internet. I mean, somebody was telling me the other day that they were at a job interview and they didn't get the job because of their Facebook, something that they had on there. I think they were doing a background check and they like asked to see their Snapchat and stuff like that. So I was just like, man, I don't know if I'm okay with that. I mean, at what point is you as a person and an employee and then you as a social media person? Because I mean, do they go hand in hand, or is it two different personalities? Because I mean, social media is a whole nother life. It's a different lifestyle.
You can be someone else, basically. You can create an image that you want people to see of you that might not necessarily be you. That's how a lot of people have made it online, especially with Instagram, which has now become even simpler than Facebook is. Facebook's getting more convoluted with the ads, and you don't really see your friends' things anymore. You see a lot more of other ads and a whole bunch of other pages and whatnot. But Instagram is so simple because it has to come from the phone. So we right away, oh, that's more genuine. That's more believable because it's from that person's phone. If it's, Jacoby Ellsbury, it's going to be his personal phone. There's no way to get around that. But I think people think that's more believable, but it's easier to hide behind that as well. You can create a different dimension of your life.
Let's do a quick pro-con. Just Facebook in general. Do you think there's more pros to Facebook, or you think it's a lot of con? Obviously, I mean, do you think the marketing side of it makes it to where it's a beneficial thing to have, or do you think it's getting a little out of hand where every little thing is an ad now and you can't even enjoy the product that it probably was meant to be, and now what it's become?
Well, when you mention all the ads, I mean, I remember at one point they were mentioning how you have to start paying for Facebook, and there was a huge uproar about that. So you almost have to kind of deal with the ads in order to keep it free. You can't have both. You can't have no ads and have it free with this day and age. I mean, Facebook needs to make their money too, and the only way to do that is by contracting space for them to use their ads.
Absolutely, I agree. I also think that the biggest thing is with the ads and whatnot, it's depending on the company, depending on what you're seeing on there. A lot of the time they're getting better at marketing towards your likes and your views. They use those formulas for everything. And we're starting to see ads pop up in all the social media now. I mean, because Facebook owns everything now. They own Instagram, they own Snapchat, they own everything.
Okay. I see that from the marketing side, the corporate side of things. But what about the consumer? I mean, me myself, I'm not making money off of it. I'm using it every day, but it's not a benefit to me. I don't think I have any benefits from using Facebook other than possibly losing my job because of something I put on there. So would I still consider it a pro to have Facebook, or do you think that's why it's turning people towards saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to get rid of all of my social media because there's no benefit to me in my life, being more a minimalist about it and saying, if it doesn't benefit me, why have it?
I know a few people that don't have any social media, and I get why they don't. But for me, I'm not a big news watcher. So with Facebook and Instagram, my two main social media outlets, I get a lot of, diluted news, but that's how I get a lot of my news is from these social media outlets. I mean, there's so much information that can just be brought to me through my social media. I mean, like Danny said, with the ads, it's geared towards what you like with their formulas. So I feel like what you like as far as politics, or if you're following a lot of stuff in the Middle East, like all that's going to be geared towards you with this social media. So I see that as a pro with having social media. But as far as Facebook use, that's definitely one of my lesser used social media outlets right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't ever post on Facebook unless it's directly from Instagram, but I probably look at Facebook the most of anything for that reason. It's a quick way to see if I hear a story, if someone talks to me, Noel, if you say, oh, this person died, I'm not going to go even Google that. I'm going to hop on Facebook, and then I can see all the different stories from all left, right side of politics. I can see everything in one spot. But for using it, like I said earlier, you don't really see what your friends do on there anymore. That's the thing. I'm not a big Facebook contributor, I would say.
I think I leaned a lot more towards Twitter for a long time. Twitter seemed to be really good about getting news feeds across and stuff like that without all the clutter or the. They kind of cleaned up. It was if they were to integrate and have a Twitter Facebook mesh, I think it would be perfect because you could have the Twitter news feed style, but then you could have your friends on Facebook and keep things separate. I think Facebook has just become a all-in-one craziness of a little bit of everything, which is probably what they wanted. I mean, that's probably why people gravitate towards it, because you get all of your eggs in one basket. But it's just crazy to think about how everything's just changed, especially with social media. I mean, now you even start seeing companies steal features from others. Like you take Snapchat and Instagram, they're literally almost identical at this point with their stories and stuff like that. And it all just comes down to money. I don't know if it's any benefit to the consumer. And I think that's what social media has got kind of crazy. It's not even about any benefits to anyone. It's all just about who can make the most money with what product. And I think the consumers are kind of helping with that, making it to where they're driving more money towards it because they're using it for the wrong purposes, trying to promote themselves and try to create even more money with something that was supposed to be as simple as here's your friends and enjoy your time with your friends. And I think it's gone way beyond that.
Yeah, I think one thing we have to give to Facebook is, I mean, they are the social media monster right now. Every good idea, one way or another, comes back to Facebook. Or if something new is out there, Facebook instantly integrates that into their system. Like you mentioned, the stories. I mean, there were so many memes out there making fun of where stories are going now. But that's just great business by Facebook by being like, hey, we offer this too, so they don't lose quote unquote clients per se. So I mean, we just gotta give, hands out to Facebook, give them their moment right now in this in our talk, just because they are the monster right now. They control social media, at least from my point of view.
Oh, yeah, like I said earlier, they own everything. They really do. And if it's a different social media, you're not hearing about it really, because Facebook controls all the news as well. And but just social media in general, I mean, what it's done for people, I guarantee you there are more quote unquote entrepreneurs and CEOs in the world today because of social media. There are whole companies. I mean, I've bought things off of links on Instagram because I saw a hat or I saw a shirt or I saw a product that I said, you know what, that looks cool, I'm going to go check it out. And it's created job opportunities for people. So I would say that's a pro of social media. It allows people to essentially have a free marketer and not have to pay someone to do that.
So you think it'd be better if people looked at social media more as a tool and not a lifestyle?
Absolutely.
If you were to say Facebook is like my hammer and I only use my hammer when I need to nail something. I think that's how it'd probably be an effective way to look at social media. I don't do it that way. I mean, I'm sitting on the toilet looking at Twitter for no reason. That's not beneficial at all, but to save me some time. But I think a lot of people are that way. I mean, I know a lot of people that the first thing they do when they wake up, they grab their phone and check their social media. The first thing they do when they go to bed is check their social media, plug in that phone and go to bed. But it's the first and last thing you do. And I mean, that's more than a tool at that point. That's an addiction. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what most people are afraid of when they're talking social media, is that it is an addiction. They can't get rid of it. And those people that do get rid of it, I don't know if they live a healthier lifestyle or if it's beneficial to them, but I personally haven't been able to do it as much as I've told myself that I want to. It might be an addiction. I don't know, but what do you guys think? I mean, how do you guys feel towards it?
For me, I would say it's definitely an addiction. I mean, I don't post hardly at all, but I'm still on it 24/7, and that is hands down an addiction. I mean, like you said, wake up. I don't get on it instantly when I wake up, but I am on it for at least 4 hours a day while I'm at work, and that's being very honest. And then when I get home, I'm on it. It's just, and nothing really new is on there, but it's just a constant need to know what's out there, what's going on, what's happening. And that's what social media is. It just takes you outside of your bathroom, outside of your bedroom, lets you kind of live life through other people, which is, what a lot of people really enjoy about it.
Yeah, it allows you to see the world. Like I think we've talked about this previously, was the fact that we're not meant, in all reality, in the entire existence of the human race, we're not meant to have this much connection. I'm not meant to know that, this guy in Taiwan is doing this, or, so-and-so liked a picture of an orange in France. You know what I mean? We're not meant to know everything that's happening in every corner of the world. We're not. It's too much for our brain to handle. And this has become just one giant web, and everything's become about, like we said earlier, everything's become about likes. Everything's become about the fame that comes from that. And what's kind of scary is, like that Black Mirror episode.
Shout out to Black Mirror.
Yeah, no, that show makes you think. But that social media episode where everything was based, your insurance, you were buying a house, you're getting a car, you're renting a car, you're buying an airline ticket. Everything was based off of what your ranking was in that social media thing. And it was so crazy. It just made you think like, wow, that in essence, that's kind of where we are right now. We look and see how many followers a company has, or we look and see how many followers someone has to see if we're going to take them serious, or to see if, oh, wow, we're actually going to give them money for a product. No, they only have like 200 people that follow them on social media. They must just be starting. We actually have integrated that into our lives and we don't think about it. It's just a part of what we do now.
I think since we're on the social media topic, I mean, it can kind of transition also to a relationship thing. Do you feel like social media causes any issues or problems with relationships just in general? I mean, with it being Instagram, or just because, like you said, being so connected with so many people, I mean, you don't know who that person's talking to. You don't know who's liking what picture. I mean, just when we were in high school, I mean, how many girls were thrilled that they were considered Facebook stalkers and Instagram stalkers, and they could figure out anybody's anything from just finding them online. That's got to put a toll on some people, I would imagine. And I mean, just another reason why I would imagine people would get rid of their social media is because of that. It starts affecting them in part of their lives that they didn't enjoy, and it didn't become beneficial. So what do you guys think?
I would definitely say it could be an easy relationship killer, because you are so connected to people that you would never meet before. And odds are you probably won't meet them, but you can see so much out there, man, woman, whatever. I mean, you're so connected out there to seeing everything. And not to mention, we didn't bring up Tinder. I mean, that is a huge not necessarily social media, but
technically it is.
That alone will destroy a relationship, and you don't need to post if you're single or married or in a relationship. I mean, that is a one purpose app on your phone.
How many muscles does it take to swipe right?
Hey now. There might have been love that was found from Tinder. We don't know. I've never used it, but I don't want to bash on something that might have brought somebody love. But yes, I can understand where it can get pretty shady real quick.
Yeah, odds are I'm sure love has been found on Tinder. I would say that.
Yeah.
I would say that it has. But I also think other things have been found on Tinder as well.
I think a lot of things that might have been caught from Tinder, for being honest.
Exactly. Talk about relationship killer. Yeah.
All right. Well, then we all agree then, yes, there's a chance that social media can be a relationship killer, but would any one of us actually get rid of our social media today if we felt like it was causing problems? Or would we be like, no, you're being crazy. It's not social media, it's you.
I would say there's more than a chance of social media destroying a relationship. That's for sure. But let's say that if that did happen to somebody, let's say you were married and a divorce happened because of social media, because you were out there stalking or trying to hook up with people on social media.
Maybe we don't need to take it to that extent. Maybe it doesn't even have to be an affair situation. Maybe it's just you're having dinner and you're just constantly on your phone. I mean, it doesn't always have to be to the extreme. It could be, hey, we're sitting here trying to have a nice dinner together and you've been checking your Twitter for the last 20 minutes because you want to see the score of the game or whatnot. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, little things build up. We've all been in relationships for quite a while. We know it's the little things that end up setting people off the most. But at what point do you have to make a conscious effort to realize it's an addiction and try to fix that, or you just become so content with it because social media has been so integrated with our lives that it's just as simple as going to the bathroom or waking up and going to sleep. It's just what you do now. And I think that's where I think social media really messes with people and kind of gives everybody a pass on life, because they're like, hey, no, everybody does it. It's just social media now. Where at first it was supposed to be a tool, but now it's not. It's something completely different, and it's kind of taken over.
Yeah, it's totally integrated. Like you just said, it's not a tool anymore. It's something that's just a part of your life in general. But going back to the start of what you were just saying, I would 100% say that I've had problems at dinner being on a phone or going on social media. That's the easiest thing. I mean, those are the apps that are right at the top of your list. I mean, you're only going to check a score of a game if the game's happening, which is a certain time of day, or once a week if it's football. But social media, it's constantly happening. It's happening right now. There's stuff going on out there, and then that's the whole FOMO thing. The fear of missing out. It's like, oh, I wonder what Noel's doing. Wonder what Trevor's doing. Oh, look, he went to this place. And that just puts you down a rabbit hole. You constantly keep going down rabbit holes. Next thing you know, it's 20 minutes and your girlfriend or wife is looking at you going, this was supposed to be date night.
And I think about this a lot for situations like that. And with Trevor, you have 2 kids. So do you ever think about that when they're sitting at the table and you guys are having dinner and like one of you pulls out your phone? Do you ever think that they might grow up and be like, hey, it's okay to be on your phone. It's what we do. It's not a big deal.
I mean, we try not to have our phones out. I mean, my wife doesn't appreciate me being on my phone at all when I'm with her. So I've definitely been able to cope with my quote unquote addiction with social media around her. And I know a lot of people do struggle with that. And I would be hard pressed to say that I didn't struggle with that. But yes, I would definitely appreciate my children to never be on social media when I'm around, because I want to be able to have that human interaction, which we have all lost with social media.
Yeah, 100%. I really, really think that we've lost that human interaction because they've done studies on in types of interaction, and it hits a certain part of your brain when you're actually sitting across from a table like we are right now and having a discussion where you actually can see person's demeanors. And I also think it also really is a huge proponent of a lot of the things that are happening nowadays with people kind of having no face, kind of having no identity, but still being able to say hurtful things, still being able to, be really things that you would never say to another person physically, but you can say it behind a keyboard and hide. You can do a lot of that. Go to any famous person's, social media page, and it's just a constant stream of name calling and way worse too.
So then with that, like you said, you could be a little keyboard warrior and kind of be your real self behind a keyboard. So when it goes full circle and people are looking at your Facebook, if you're trying to get a job or something, are they looking for the real you that's sitting behind the computer? Or is that just a different persona that you use on the internet? Who's the real you? Is it the social media you, or the you that's not on your computer all the time or on social media, not posting that stuff? Who's the real one?
I mean, I'm going to go off of a TV show here that probably has no credibility, but South Park had an episode or a full season laid out.
South Park's credible.
Did we? Yeah. Are we throwing that South Park is not credible? They are on like episode 10,001 at this point.
I'm giving just for everybody out there that would be like, oh, they're quoting South Park here. So, but they had this whole last season, Kyle's father was an internet troll. So to a point where he was still functioning in society, but when he got home, he would pour himself a bottle of wine or a glass of wine and just start trolling the internet. And he thought it was funny. So that necessarily wasn't him. That was just a part of him that's like a hobby per se. So I would say that there is 2 different people that can function in society, can work at a job, and then still go home and do their hobby of trolling the internet.
It's a virtual reality, really.
Or just a word, it would turn social media into an outlet, really. To get you out of your norm, your 9 to 5, you would use social media as your outlet to kind of get away from that and not have to worry about things, which makes sense. And I get that. It's just with today's day and age when you don't really know a real person until it's too late, maybe. You kind of don't really know someone until you really know them. And then sometimes when you really know them, you don't want to know them anymore. But I think that's what social media has created. I mean, you don't really have those like you said, that FaceTime that interaction with someone that is genuine anymore. It's because of social media. It's become, oh, I think I know this person because I've looked at their Instagram page and went through 10,000 of their pictures, and I pretty much know that they like the Dodgers, they like to get sushi on Wednesdays, and they're really into sake bombs. That's not knowing somebody. That's just knowing what they like to show people. That's not necessarily knowing someone. And I think that social media has kind of taken that personality out of people. And I don't even think people know who they are anymore in themselves. Like, I couldn't tell anybody who I was without being like, you should just check my Instagram. I mean, you'll get a gist of who I am. And I think that's sad. I don't think it should be that way.
You bring up a point to where that we haven't even mentioned yet with social media, the catfish aspect of it. People creating alter egos and getting into relationships and ruining lives by being these other people through social media, taking pictures of a real person and kind of becoming that person. I mean, you would almost argue that it is a mental disorder that is created through social media, through catfish.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's having this ability. This is unprecedented in the history of humankind. This ability to be someone else. You know, whether it's on the level of the extreme of like a catfish situation, or at the level of just, who am I for my job interview? You know, let's go through and clean up our Instagram before we go to a job interview. And that also feeds into generational differences, where an older person is going to look at your Facebook behavior and where you, where you and I might think differently and think, oh, this is just harmless. You know what I mean? Like, who doesn't go out and have a beer on Friday night? They're going to look at that and they're going to see that as, oh, this is how he represents himself. I don't want him doing this for this company. So you have it on that level. And then, like you said, with the whole catfish level thing too, I mean, that definitely could be a mental disorder that could be started because of this ability to be someone else. It really does. Anytime you get a like or a follow or anything like that, it creates a new pathway in your brain. Endorphins are going. It's the same kind of, yeah, exactly. It's the same kind of endorphins that you get from having a conversation and me saying, you know what, Trevor, you're one heck of a good guy, you know, that sort of thing. So it's really interesting dynamic. That's, like I said, it's kind of unprecedented in history.
Yeah, the catfish thing's a whole nother beast, I think. If you really think about it, I mean, at some point, it's just somebody trying to live a life that they don't necessarily like. I mean, or it's a situation where somebody's just pouring wine and just trying to troll the internet. But, I mean, I think, like Danny said, it could be a dysfunction, and I mean, a disorder in someone's brain. That's just the way they are. Yeah, that's just... I've personally never been catfished, or that I know of, so I don't think I have any say on that. But I could see it could really mess a few people up. I think that's just why social media is so crazy, because there's so many different dynamics to it. It's not as simple as how it should have been from the get-go on MySpace, where you literally just had a page, said a little thing about you, and had some friends. It's gone so far beyond that. It's scary. It's a scary, scary thought, and I don't know how my children are going to get through it, or if I'm just being crazy. Maybe it's not going to be a big deal to them, because they're going to grow into it and it's just going to end up being an everyday part of life. It's kind of for the stuff that we grew up with. I mean, I'm sure our parents were thinking the same thing. They don't want us doing certain things, but to us, it wasn't a big deal. So I don't know. I'm a big believer in it. Everything goes through generations. So I think maybe we're just that part of the generations that's seeing social media at its growing in preteen stages, maybe. This is just the teenage stages of social media, and they're putting on those mini skirts and running around, and we're like, no, that's not good. We don't want that. But, I mean, you can only hope that social media is going to grow into something respectable, and it's going to be more beneficial to people. And maybe our kids will be better than us and use it as a tool. Maybe they'll see it as a hammer and only use it when they need to, or they won't, and they'll be just as screwed as we are.
You just summed that all up very nicely. You put it all in a nice little package and wrapped it up and put a bow on it.
Yeah.
You gave social media like a timeline. Like, you were like, okay, it's a child right now, and it's growing up, and it's becoming a rebellious teenager, and yeah, who knows? I mean, it's here to stay. I mean, social media is here to stay, 100%. It's not going to go away. This is not going to be something in 20 years people are going to be like, oh. I think it's going to transform a little bit. I think it's going to become more of a virtual reality thing, where you're going to be able to actually see people. I mean, with the advent of VR happening right now, I think that's totally a possibility where people are going to be able to actually interact with people, and you're going to see that as if they were really there, which brings up all that magnifies every issue, every pro, every con, and changes it all.
I just think that if it gets to that point, I mean, at what point are even relationships or any friendships going to survive? I mean, that's just crazy. There's no way you can have a stable relationship when you're sitting face to face with the person that you love and you're having dinner, and then 20 minutes later you're putting on some goggles and you're in a room with 20,000 other people doing some completely different that's separating you from the person that you're already next to. You're literally taking yourself out of a situation just to be a part of another social event. And you can't live your life that way. That doesn't make any sense. When you were growing up, your parents were your parents and they were always together. They were there. It wasn't, hey, I wonder what the two parents over in Italy are doing and I'm going to look at their Instagram and see what they're up to. You didn't take yourself out of situations like that. I don't understand why the world thinks that that's how it needs to be. Why do people want to go from where they're at and go to a whole other world? Doesn't make any sense.
I think the key to social media is, I think we've already labeled it, and I know I have, as a monster right now. It's a monster of society, and it's a battle for each person to kind of chain that monster and be able to control it and not let it control them. And that's something that we all face, and hopefully everybody can control the social media monster in themselves.
I think a lot of this is going to social media is going to combine with virtual reality, and I think it's gonna be this sort of neural net that's going to combine everyone's consciousness, everyone's thinking, and that's all going to combine into one. I mean, think about it. When you really think about it, social media is a lot of data mining. There's a reason they know what we like. There's a reason that only things we are into pop up on our Instagram feed, because they're taking our information. We're taking surveys every time we hit like, every time we hit comment, every time we go to a page. We're giving them information. They're data mining. And what they're doing is they're finding out trends for business, probably, but also there could be more nefarious reasons that they're doing that for. They could be finding out, where problem people are, or people they consider to be problem people. And I think there's going to be this connectivity, which we kind of already have with this connectivity where pretty much everyone in the world, or in the civilized world, is going to have their consciousness, it's a word, I'm trying to get that out. They're going to be connected, and we're going to be able to access all the information that a scientist in Taiwan has just as he's thinking. I think it's going to be integrated kind of into more of a biological thing as well, with the advent of VR coming in too.
That would be nuts.
That would blow my mind. Literally, it probably would blow our minds. But
these kids and their science these days.
On that, who was that? The author, the guy that was on the podcast with from Under the Skin with Russell Brand.
Harari, the one who wrote *Sapiens*.
Harari. Yeah. Yes. So he was talking about a point in time where all the human race is just going to become basically empty voids, and our decisions are already going to be made for us with those surveys and everything that you were talking about. At some point, we're not even going to be able to know if we like the person we're on a date with, because there's going to be, I mean, if you think about it like a Apple Watch, your heart monitor and stuff, it's going to be able to tell you if the date that you were on is actually going well, if this person that you're with raised your heart rate enough for you to actually consider this person as a mate. And so everything's just going to be predetermined. You're not going to know if you're actually hungry. It'll tell you if you're hungry. It's going to be literally asking Siri for everything, and you won't even have to make choices anymore. You'll be zombies walking in the street of somebody making choices for you. And when he said that, it just kind of clicked with me. I was like, that could possibly be happening right now without us even noticing it. I mean, I don't know how many times where we're sitting there saying, oh, what do we want for dinner? First thing we do is we open an app, go to flip a coin, and boom, somebody's making a decision for me. Decision making has gone out the window. It's all computerized at this point because of social media.
And everything's becoming transparent as well. Like you said, it's going to be very hard to lie, basically. In the next, I would say 20, 25 years, it's going to be extremely hard because everyone's going to fact check that. The second you meet someone, or the second, like you were using the date example, it right away will, you instantly look. You instantly look at their social media. You instantly look at their profiles, and you see who they are or how they choose to portray themselves. And I mean, I don't know who doesn't do that. I mean, I looked at social media for pretty much all of my friends right away. The second I meet someone, the second I hang out with someone, I want to see what kind of person they are. And so it's just the beginning steps. That's like the 2-year-old version of transparency. We're going to have this knowledge about everyone we meet. We're going to know everything about them.
That's a scary thing to think about. I don't want to know every little thing about somebody without them telling me everything about them.
It's going to happen.
And if you think about it, social media kind of ruins the aspect of getting to know somebody. I mean, like Danny said, when he meets somebody, you're going to friend them if you guys had a decent connection, or not even just the fact of adding a friend to your social media gives you some power in yourself. Like, oh, I got this many followers now. But the idea of knowing somebody before you actually know them kind of ruins the face-to-face value of a relationship just amongst people in general. I mean, it kind of kills everything about humankind.
It kills that natural curiosity. It kills that fun it is getting to know someone. Oh, wow. Oh, you've got kids? I never would have guessed. Oh, wow. That sort of thing. But what's really kind of interesting for me personally on this topic is I've kind of tried to stay away from that. I don't friend as many people anymore. Like, if you can look back, I don't friend a lot of people. I think I'm probably going to friend a lot of the people from the job because I'm getting that new job, my previous job. I will go back and I will friend those people just so I can stay in contact. That's one of the pros about social media, is that I actually have communication with people that I used to live with in Florida, people I used to live with in Michigan that I knew for, till I was 6 years old. But we've actually gotten to know each other over social media. And that's a good way of using that. But like you said, there's a bad way of using it too, with just knowing everything about everyone before.
I think it's pretty safe to say that we're all on the same page about social media. It's an addiction. We need it, and it's here to stay. That's all for today's episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast on SoundCloud or iTunes to get all updates on future content. And just remember, it's not important who's right or wrong, but it's always important to ask why.